Shall we start
Rockets.
episode 0.2?
Yes.
And that was the show.
Okay, we're started. So eventually we'll come up with a way to start the show.
I was going to bring in bed music today,
Yeah.
but I said, that might be a little...
Welcome to the show we'll name soon.
Yes.
I'm Tom Merritt.
Sure. By the way, I got a phone call from the folks over behind G4, and they assured me that the way to start a show is to be like, this week we're talking about games, and we're going to talk more games. And games, and we'll have women in bikinis, and we're going to have games, and it's going to be amazing! This week, it's Slide Out. Oh, wait, I accidentally hit too many buttons.
Coming up on Gaming Show, we're going to talk about some games, some secrets about games, and women's in bikinis next on the Game Show.
You got to have your women's, as you put it.
Got to have your women's. All right. So
yes.
I'm Olivia Munn.
I'm still not Kevin Pereira.
If only I could be Adam
Trying
Sessler.
so hard, though.
I'm trying, man.
Actually, Brushwood could be. You're closer to Sessler with the hair.
Disturbingly close to
Especially
Sessler.
with the hat.
Yeah.
Inappropriately close to Sessler. Like,
Yeah, actually, there's a restraining order about you being that close to Sessler.
Actually, somebody just put a really good idea. It was Bawataba put in the chat room. He suggested that we start each episode with like some classic music, and maybe that could be one of the opening talking points is
Only
figuring out
Mozart's.
what classic game theme we're listening.
I thought you said classical music.
That's what I heard, too.
Like, well, that is a
Mozart.
different way to start the show.
No, classic
As
music.
it goes through an 8-bit.
No, and in fact, I'll put the warning out now that once we're a little further along with this, I'll definitely be compiling some stuff. I like to do remixes and different DJ stuff, and I've got all sorts of 8-bit sound kits, all sorts of classic sound sample packs, and I'll probably put together some really obnoxious montages of classic video game music. But I like your idea for guessing it, Brian.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what. I got the first salvo for you guys. I got 100 Brian bucks to whoever can identify this music, and I guarantee you somebody in the chat room will have it instantly.
Altered Beast.
No, not Altered Beast. That's not bad.
Oh, it's Golden Axe.
It's not Golden Axe.
Well, then I'm out.
Wait for it. Wait for it. I can't believe. Oh, see, they're almost getting it. They're starting to get it. Dude, still at work, just got it. Command and Conquer. CNC. Command and Conquer. I'm a mechanical man.
Oh, I thought it was just another Cars video.
I thought it was that Iyaz song for a second, that Move Out song.
I thought it was the
like,
new Rick Ocasek album.
That wasn't Kraftwerk?
No,
That's good. They got it. They got Command and Conquer.
That is good.
All right. So, yeah, we could do that, and then we just go right into news, which is we talked about starting with, like, quick news items, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom. So that's where we would go now with our Sports Center sort of, hey, quick news thingy, and then over to you, quick news thingy.
Oh, but we didn't do official intros, though. Now you get yours out, Tom. So just so everyone knows, I'm Glenn Rubenstein.
Oh, right,
And
yes.
with us, again, is Brian Brushwood.
Hello, America.
Iyaz Akhtar,
Iyaz Akhtar still here.
just weighing in as our independent advisor.
There's a scale under my chair. I don't know why.
And I'm Tom Merritt, host of Tech News Today. I'll be here not as a gaming expert, but as the boring guy who makes sure we keep moving along and doing other things.
It's called you're the conductor. Nobody expects the conductor to bust out an awesome guitar solo. They
Right.
expect to keep the music rocking.
That'd be pretty awesome if
you show
conductors
with
just bust out with guitar solos in the middle of classical music performances.
They get to the break. He hit the bridge. He just grabs an axe and just starts
Tosses his baton and just. Yes. Okay. So
Today we're going to run through some items, talk
Yeah.
about some games, and brainstorm more ideas for the show. Includes format ideas, title ideas, and of course taking your suggestions and feedback from the chat room. And you can email us your ideas to the email address that's showing on screen right now, twitgameshow@gmail.com.
And I'll be walking us through the format we talked about last week, so you kind of maybe get it. We're not going to do the show in this format, but
Yeah.
But like I said at the start, quick news. Like this happened, that happened, this happened, that happened. Obviously, we'd be talking about the PlayStation Network being down.
Which I think is something that's definitely worth discussing. I know now it's kind of
That would probably be our big story, maybe.
I think so.
Our roundtable discussion. I'm going to move that.
Wait a minute. What if we called each one like level 1 fights? And then,
And then the last one would be End Boss.
Yeah, exactly. We got the end boss. That's where we actually fight each other and we argue about something.
Do you mean each news story would be a level?
Well, or you could mix genres where it's just like level 1 starts or something like that, or and then the second one is like round 2 fight, and then the third one is like world 5 begin, or I don't know, like for some reason I love the idea of taking the trappings of video games that we all know and love. Yeah, exactly, and acting like we're moving forward.
No, and similar to that, a listener, Phaedra, sent a suggestion that I wanted to read in terms of a competition between hosts. Any disagreement on the show should be determined by geek cred or credits. Have listeners send in short questions about anything related to games or game history. Stick them in a shoebox and draw one when you need to resolve an argument. Quickfire answers wins, or 2 out of 3.
Ooh, I like that. That should definitely be part of the face-off or the roundtable discussion.
I also like the idea at random intervals throughout the entire show, whenever somebody actually just nails a point, then you just randomly hear... Oh wait, that was the 1-up sound. I was trying to just random sound drops.
Or just fatality.
Yeah. Definitely.
Fatality.
So we go through our quick news bits. Were you thinking that the levels are like stingers for each news bit?
No.
Okay.
I was just thinking like to go from segment to segment, something to punctuate. Be like, and we're done, and it goes level 2.
Oh yeah, okay, I got that. Then we do a calendar. Sort of like, releases coming out. What would be on our calendar this week?
This week, L.A. Noire would be the big one that's upcoming.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, and then we're definitely going to talk about that a little later today. It's a game that I've been following so closely, and I'm almost nervous about. And I want to talk about that a little bit later in the show, but I think that that's something, definitely in terms of talk about what are the big releases that are coming out. We could probably transition that into what are the big releases that we're playing, sort of what we're playing, what's new.
Well, I think that goes in the console and the PC indie. Because
gotcha.
more of the discussion stuff is in that second segment. The first part, idea is like quick stuff, calendar. Then we have break for an ad. And then we come with our roundtable discussion, which I think we just decided would be PlayStation Network Day 23. Still down.
Still down. What does this mean?
What does it mean?
And that's where I think people are really starting to discuss now, as I think we're realizing the severity of the outage. I mean, they're saying what now? May 31st is sort of the target date, which I'll be really surprised if they get it up by then. And I think
plus they've had how many target dates?
God. And they keep upping the ante in terms of what they're giving you now to sort of the make good. And I was talking about this on Twitter with someone last night in terms of well, look at Sony Online Entertainment. Like DC Universe Online. We touched on this last week. That just really could be a crippling blow to the game, having this lengthy downtime, and what they're giving us as players of DCUO, which is something I've spent months on now, really getting into. And for all this downtime, we get like 30 marks of distinction, which isn't, you get that in like a week's worth of raids.
Right, exactly.
It's enough to, it's not even enough to buy a piece of the good armor. And they're giving us a free Batman mask and a free Two-Face mask. And it's like, I don't know, it just seems so kind of like give us nothing or give us something really worthwhile, or at least, tease us with the next content update and maybe, fast track
what occurred to me? I thought it was lame when I thought they would actually mail you an actual rubber mask. Now I suddenly realize you mean an in-game item that's not even a physical object.
You thought that was lame? That would be awesome. Actually, I think
it'd be better if they mailed you a rubber mask. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But think how insulting it would be if they actually sent you a rubber mask, because it'd be like, hey man, I know you can't pretend to be Batman online,
but you can do it in real life.
Pretend to be Batman in real life. Here's the mask. Run around with your sticks in your backyard.
So you have that impact, right? So you have what it does for their online games, and across the board. With EverQuest, Galaxies. With everything else, it really, I think, impacts the player base there. But then you look at PSN as a whole, and look at one way to talk about just the ability to play multiplayer on your entire library. Look at third-party publishers like Capcom talking about that they've lost hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars due to this outage, with their ability to sell additional DLC, and content through the PlayStation Store. And then what was really interesting in terms of, people have been talking about confidence for quite a while now, in terms of like, oh, I'm just going to move over to Xbox. You're going to see a lot of gamers moving over to Xbox. What was interesting, a good friend of mine from way back, used to write for me at CNET Game Center, Hugh Sterbikoff, who now is a writer, actually Emmy-nominated writer for Robot Chicken. He posted on Facebook today something that was interesting in terms of what does this outage mean, in terms of just the general stigma now that's attached to PlayStation and sort of affecting, I don't know, the amount of pride and or confidence people have in their system choice. Because that's a very personal thing as a gamer. And he actually pointed out with Sega, the problems they had as a hardware manufacturer once they had, problems with software, once they screwed up the staggered release dates of the Saturn system. You make a couple of missteps, and no matter how good your games are at that point, it's sort of, it really kind of hits the confidence of the gamer and how they feel about the system. And that's something I think that for Sony could be the big long-term problem.
And retail stores are reporting that they've got like a 200% increase in the number of PS3s being traded in.
Yeah.
There's a glut of PS3s on the market right now.
Yeah, and I understand that, they're going to need to make money to cover their costs once the network comes back up. And this is what I was talking about with someone on Twitter last night, is that, forget their costs for this year. Sony has the deep pockets to absorb whatever losses they have. What they should be working on is really rebuilding their customer loyalty and just offering the best bonuses, the best sweeteners. I think they should make PlayStation Plus standard for the rest of the year.
So much of Sony's problem is a problem of perception. And can I just for anyone who's worried about their credit card information being out there, am I the only person who seems to remember that credit card liability, no matter if you full on announce live on the air your credit card number and a bunch of people use it to buy erroneous stuff, the maximum liability you have is $50. Like I'm on a couple of listservs from gamers, and one of them, the guy was talking about, he changed his credit card number because of the news about a leak. And I'm just like, what are you worried about? You look at your statement, and if you see something that you didn't buy, you say, I didn't buy it. I think somebody's compromised my number, and they send you a new card.
What's hilarious to me is that the credit card company had already changed my credit card number because of a different credit card breach. And so that I hadn't got around to updating it on the PlayStation Network, meaning that I was already covered.
Yeah.
But even if it was a live number, you're not liable. You have built-in protection. Everyone does. The most you could possibly lose is $50, and I think in some situations even that's not available. It's like, I don't understand. It's not an actual problem that Sony's deal with. It's a perception problem that they have to deal with.
Well, and especially,
and I do agree. They should give away free stuff to fix the perception problem.
It's not about the credit card numbers. It's about the fact that I can't use my Portal 2 co-op. I can't play my, whatever game it is, my Mortal Kombat online. My PlayStation Network has been out. I can't play my Netflix movies right now. There was a workaround for that for a while, but that has stopped working within the past week. You can't even watch the Netflix movies anymore. So, I mean, they also, disturbingly, when they announced the makeups for Sony Online Entertainment, they said, like with PlayStation Network, we're going to give you 30 days free service, but they added, and 1 free day for every day over 30 days the outage goes. That makes me really worried because they're already starting to plan for an outage that lasts more than a month.
But the way PlayStation Network works, you always have to go through one thing, or Xbox Live, you got to go through that as your network. I mean, PCs, they don't do that, right? So, I mean, would we see consoles moving towards that PC style of you're going through servers of the manufacturer of the game?
Or? It used to be that way. I mean, you used to have some online instance play before Xbox Live really streamlined it. I mean, you used to have great example like Phantasy Star Online. I mean, you used to have select games that had their own online multiplayer ability, that was back when there were like modem peripherals, or in the case of the Dreamcast, like a modem was built into it. I think that could be a realistic backup. I think you might see some third parties start to think of that now, but I don't know if they can do that and bypass PSN. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if they could.
Not on their own hardware. That's the benefit that PSN has, is that they're locked into their own hardware. So, of course, you got to go through the PSN network. But even there, I'm going to say that even the perception that PC enthusiasts have that they deserve free online content, because obviously we get that through our browser and through stuff like Steam. Like, Steam is starting to offer a big enough benefit to me that if they said, hey, by the way, Steam $9.99 a year now, can you kick us $10? I wouldn't think twice about saying yes to that.
Yeah, I think back to what you were saying about the credit card issue. I think the issue with the credit card breach isn't the liability. It's specifically with parents. And there are people that are so paranoid about their credit card number, which is weird because I always say to people, you're paranoid about using your credit card for anything online, but you think nothing of giving it to a waiter who takes it in a back room physically for 5 minutes and then brings it back to you. I mean, there's a certain segment that are, and we started to see that paranoia curb in recent years, but now I think especially when it comes to parents, I think that's going to be a hit.
Yeah.
As far as the PSN stuff goes. I mean, it's really, people have been making comparisons since week one towards, like the BP oil spill and the mishandling and whatnot. What is that disaster this is for Sony? It's really a matter at this point of what are they going to do to get it back up online, and just I think it's entirely perception is there to sort of rebuild their brand and rebuild the trust with gamers.
I think you're right. And that would, maybe we'd go a little longer, but that would be our roundtable discussion segment, whatever we ended up calling it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, in terms of news stories, we're probably going to want to look at just blowing through a couple of those quickly, depending on the week. I mean, obviously, when there's something that's huge that warrants the additional discussion. But I think the idea is really just to give a good overview with a little bit of analysis.
Yeah, we'd throw in we'd have lots of stuff in our news section, but then our roundtable would focus on one or two. Like maybe we would have thrown in the Square Enix hack as part of this if we were really fully doing the show. Web9888 says, that was almost real. That was real. I mean, we had a real discussion. We weren't faking it. There were no scripts.
It was only a simulation.
Souls.
Well, and I think that's the thing. Some people had said last week about the brainstorm that it was good, but that it was very analytical, and that a lot of the passion and sort of what we were looking to do wasn't coming across. So I thought for this week, that's why it was important to really...
We did exactly the same thing with frame rate. Like the first time, it was all about, well, what kind of show should we do?
Yeah.
The second time, it's like, well, we'd kind of do it like this. And then it just kind of, every week you start to really doing more actual stuff until all of a sudden you're just doing the show.
And just so people know, that's sort of the build-up that we're doing is looking into, obviously, we're not going to be doing one of these next Friday. I know you're going to be...
Yeah, I'm going to be out.
But then I guess 2 weeks from today, we'll do another one. And kind of leading up to E3, I'm going to E3. Brian's going to E3. We'll have some coverage.
Actually, Glenn, now on the schedule, like my assistant is supposed to room with you, but it's like between the two of us, I'd rather room with you so that we could actually experience real meat space together. That didn't sound right.
Oh,
but the point is that at E3,
is that something you want to experience, Glenn?
Movies and get to know each other.
That sounds good.
And that's how the show will go.
I am game for that, Brian, because that works for me.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
I'm glad you guys are consenting.
Yeah, meat space. That was fantastic. E3 is in Los Angeles this year. For people that don't know, it is, I believe, June 7th through 9th. I'm going to be there the 6th through the 8th. I'm going to do 2 days at the show. I know we're broadcasting from there. I believe we're covering Nintendo's press conference, some other stuff. And Brian and I will have meat space.
Yeah, that is the title of this episode now.
I just booked my flight, so I'm going to be in early Monday and late on Wednesday, so I'll have time to be there, before and after as well. So
what time are you flying out Wednesday?
Like 3, 4 o'clock, I think.
Okay, yeah, I'm going. I think like 5 or 6, but cool. We'll have plenty of time.
So then we go from our roundtable discussion. We need a name. Like I put the big story in here because that's what we call it on frame rate, but we kind of need our own.
Sorry, I'm just looking at some things in the chat.
Why don't you want to say the boss level?
Yeah. Boss level. I like it. I'll put that in there for now. And so then we go into our console stuff, which we could talk about L.A. Noire.
Yeah, well, that's something that, it's coming out this next Tuesday, and I don't know, I mean, it's a game that has been so hyped now for such a long time.
Can we show the trailer? Actually?
Yeah,
because it's good enough that, or at least the facial technology and how the focus that they're doing on real actor. I mean, they're going up the Uncanny Valley and dancing right on that edge right there.
Take that, Uncanny Valley! I'm dancing on your meat space. Roll tape. Rated mature for mature people.
Mature people who play games.
Rated M for assholes.
New case. White female dumped the grass at the end of Hill Street.
Blunt force trauma. I doubt very much he was concerned with her dignity.
You give me something or I will break your jaw.
You have no idea the type of people that are involved, Phelps. You're gonna die for this.
I'm not lying. She got up and left. That was it.
L.A. Noire, coming May 17th.
White people hit each other, coming May 17th.
It's funny. I heard this ad before I saw it. Like I was doing something in my apartment. I'm like, what movie is that? And I'm like, wait, that's L.A. Noire. Because I have a friend who's been talking about this forever. I was familiar with the game. I was just surprised at the acting in this.
Oh, I mean, it looks fantastic. And they have, what's his face? Aaron Staton from Mad Men plays the lead role. I mean, there's a lot of actors that, you can recognize from, just even looking at the 3D. Because, it's very realistic. They're using this new process. What is it, like 16 high-definition cameras that they use to capture, each performance to put in the game? I mean, it's definitely, 32, using motion scan. it's definitely pushing the envelope. I think the question is, though, for me, I mean, I feel like I've been hoodwinked before by games that looked really good. Or sort of this interactive movie premise. It seems like every couple of years somebody gets that idea to sort of, do that again. And they're usually games that are great on production, but short on gameplay.
And if I can interject, like what they're doing is, I think, a very sensible, but I think a very mistaken thing to do. It's what they know will make headlines is 32 cameras and there's so many cameras on the face because it's so important that you understand the emotion from the actors. By the way, did I mention we have real actors for this video?
Well, and I think that's the thing. So a lot of people in the chat room are saying that didn't look that great to me, and it's not like, oh, the skin texture looks like real skin. Yeah. It's about the fact that it's shot like a real movie and acted like a real movie.
And understand, nobody, even among us, nobody has said what really matters, which is this is a game that has a primary focus on story, not on mechanics. And that's why, and I've said this before, Mass Effect 2 was a revolutionary experience for me because every game I've played up until then, I've gotten through the story so I could get back to the action. Mass Effect 2 was the first game that I was like, I couldn't wait to get through the action, which was fun. It was fine. I enjoyed using powers and killing people, but I could not wait to get back to the story.
Or Heavy Rain is another one.
If we have an increased focus on story, that only has to be better for video games as an art medium.
Well, here's my worry, though, about it is that, I mean, I love a lot of the open world games that Rockstar has done. I mean, obviously Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption. In fact, I'll even say, one of my favorite games from recent years is Bully that Rockstar did, because I thought that was really. I played that game like every last nook and cranny of that game because it was interesting to see a sort of teenage, sort of a teen movie coming of age story done in a video game in an open world gameplay environment. So with LA Noire, it's one of those things that they show all this footage from it, right? And they show all these different scenarios. Here's my worry about the game, and I'm not sure if my worry is calmed or stoked by this, but I read, so The Guardian in the UK had the first review of this that published, early this morning or late last night, and they gave it 5 stars. But one thing that they said is it's not as open world as Grand Theft Auto or Red Dead Redemption were.
Good.
See, but I don't know, man. It's like my biggest fear is when I get this is that it's going to come across like a cross between Shenmue and Ace Attorney. You know what I mean?
You're talking about Objection. What's his name?
Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney.
Yeah. There you go.
I'm afraid that it's going to be very linear and very much sort of like now we're transitioning to these different segments. Now you have to interrogate. Now you have to do this as opposed to more open world. They've recreated L.A. of Los Angeles of the 1940s. It looks beautiful what they've done in terms of all the different environments. What I'm worried about is that you're not going to be able to fully explore this environment and play in the sandbox.
What you're getting at is that you're worried that the game will be on rails. Now, when you say on rails, that's a dirty word. That means this is more like a theme park ride. The Call of Duty franchise is very much on rails. You go from one segment to the next, and it's obvious where you need to go the entire way through.
Yeah.
But people don't realize that on rails is essentially a curated experience. It means you're experiencing the game on purpose. Now, you can handle that in a way that people don't even realize they've been manipulated into it. One of the greatest experiences I've ever had in all of gaming was very much a planned on-rails experience. That was in Portal 1, spoiler alert, green, blue. When that moment at the end, when you turn around for the cake and instead there's a giant inferno there, I full on sat back away from the computer like,
wait.
Very clever, gentlemen.
The cake is not the truth?
Yes, that's the catchphrase you hear everyone saying. The cake is not the truth.
Yeah.
Is what they say.
Okay. That's what they mean when they say that.
That moment when I came around and there's an inferno there, I leaned back. I'm like, oh, that's funny. What a way to end the game. I die at the end. That's funny. And then the guy next to me was so wrapped up in the story that he was frustrated. He was like, no, we can't end that way. He was like, do something. I was like, well, there's nothing I can do. I'm like, wait a minute. There's concrete over here. There's concrete over here. Brum, brum. And then it was this mind-blowing moment for me, and it was very much planned. It was very much on rails, but it never felt that way. And there's no reason that there can't be that happy middle ground of making you feel like you're in complete control while having a curated gaming experience.
And I agree with that. I mean, Portal 2 is even a good example. I mean, both Portals are essentially...
Oh, they're on rails.
You make the right decision or you don't, or you find a way around the objective.
Yeah.
But the thing is that this being a Rockstar game, and Rockstar is so known for doing these open world games. I mean, look at GTA 4. there's so much you can do in that game.
Well, do you think this is a gateway kind of game then? I mean, like because like for me, like these open-ended games mean that I'm going to lose a lot of time because I can do anything, and because of that, I'll do everything in the game.
Yeah.
Now, one of the reasons I stepped away from gaming in general was because of the time loss. But this kind of thing, if it's on rails, I probably would pay attention to this. Then I see what they're doing at Rockstar. You move over to Grand Theft Auto or the next big game from them.
Or if I'm just like, I'm a big Raymond Chandler fan, I want to experience this world, but I don't want to have to spend too much time figuring it out. I just want to be told a cool story.
I think you can have both, though. I mean, because Grand Theft Auto 4, I mean, by no means, that was a pretty substantial success, and that was a game where you could play it through in a linear fashion, or you could just get different vehicles, go explore the different areas, like have, and that's where the replay value comes in. And I think that Rockstar's built up this reputation for these style of games. So what I think is that, don't get me wrong, I think that to a casual fan or someone that doesn't play a lot of video games, like, I mean, I know my wife is really interested in L.A. Noire, but she also had a great time watching me play Bully. She was fabulously entertained just watching me run around and talk to different people and the different things people said. She thought it was a really funny, quirky game. So she's interested in L.A. Noire. I'm just afraid that it's going to seem too straightforward and episodic with the way that the progression works. If anything, they built this world. I hope that the focus is on this world and the characters that live in it, as opposed to just this performance capture technology.
Right.
I think that's my concern.
Also out on console already, Brink.
Yes.
And Brian, you've been playing it too. I know Glenn has.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. Brink is, first of all, I don't know. Do we want to? I think the trailer is worth watching because it really has a unique flavor. It's got this kind of Logan's Run, future, dystopian, everything run amok thing. I'd like to take a look at that if we can.
Yeah, everyone, please lick your screen and get ready to taste
It's available
Brink.
for console and PC.
Rated T for teen.
40 years ago, we started building the Ark. Back then, it was an experiment, a dream, a self-sustaining city of the future. But the Ark is wearing out. The new guests live in slums, and now we're out of time. So will you save the Ark or escape it?
Today is a great day. Brother Chen has given the word. Today we move on from peaceful resistance to taking up arms to fight for what's right.
After today's kidnapping, the Founders have finally authorized the use of deadly force.
Captain, on deck!
It's showtime.
Watch the front!
Time to kick ass! Who wants some? Bandit spotted! Get out of there! Look out!
There is no turning back. We must escape the Ark!
We must have order. We must save the Ark.
Fire in the hole! We will have justice in this world or the next! Eat frag! Look out! I'm in trouble!
So, one of the weird things, like I saw that trailer and I was in love with this thing. So I went ahead and pre-bought it right away and downloaded it. And the moment it came out, I had the curious, I'm normally deeply affected by early buzz for things, but I started playing the game and I really enjoyed it's much more story to it. And I love the deep, detailed world that they've created, unlike Team Fortress 2, where you know nothing. Everything's a cartoon and it's like, kill each other, go. And you have to kind of intuit that you're in a wacky world where blue has to fight red. But they really do a good job of telling the story behind it. And the parkour element, what they call the smart technology, essentially every object that looks like a real person should be able to climb up on it. You can climb up on it. If it looks like you should be able to slide underneath it, you can slide underneath it. And it feels very organic and really fun to run around in the world on PC. Now, after I started playing, then I started seeing the reviews that were savaging this thing. But as best as I can understand, most of them are reviewing the console version. And I don't know if there's any specific difference in the game itself, but aesthetically, playing WASD and mouse, I've really enjoyed it so far, and I really look forward to diving in more.
I think the game looks really good. Now, I played it on the Xbox 360. Now, the key selling points that they're pitching this game on are, one, what Brian mentioned, the parkour elements, and then it's a class-based shooter. So there are 4 character classes: the soldier, the medic, the engineer, and the operative.
Is this based on TF2?
No. It should be pointed out that you
very
can
similar to it.
It's very similar.
You could classes.
Switch classes.
You walk up to a station, you press some buttons, and now all of a sudden you're a medic.
And you earn experience points as you go. You raise in level. You get new abilities for each of these classes. You can unlock new weapons, unlock new movement types. I mean, it's very customizable. And I think for online gameplay, I definitely think that's the hook if you like class-based shooters. I'm a bit more of a run and gun type of guy. And I like ones where you can just pick up, 2 or 3 bullet hits. The person's dead. You have a grenade that can blow somebody away. And it's just a complete frag fest. What I thought was interesting about the game is that while it looks really good, and being said that it's primarily, don't get, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but it's meant primarily to be a multiplayer game. I think I felt this the single player game. The story didn't grab me personally, but as for a multiplayer game, it's only got like 8 maps in the entire game. And that seems very limited to me in terms of like the open-ended replay value. I mean, this seems like it's been a very polarizing game, and I get both sides of the argument. I think if I liked class-based first-person shooters, I would really enjoy Brink. But here are my beefs with it, is that the parkour elements, while they're really cool, those don't unlock until level 8. So it seems weird that you have one of the main hooks of the game.
Yes and no. The more advanced moves don't open until later, but I'm only on level 3, and it's like and then maybe it's different from PC with the mouse and keyboard versus using your thumbs.
It's responsive. I mean, I don't have a problem with the way the game feels. What I'm saying is that like it bummed me out that you can't do the parkour movements until you get to level 8. It seems like with the medium body type, it's not as fast. I want to get in there. If you're selling the game based on this parkour movement mode, it seems to me just a sort of poor design that they wouldn't have that up front. Secondly, as a huge gripe, they have some really cool looking maps, including one, you've played the one, Brian, where you're in like the terminal and there's the big aquarium.
No, I haven't done that one. I thought when you said terminal, I thought you were going to talk about the airport, which to somebody who travels as much as me is very satisfying to dive down into the luggage.
The level design is really cool. That's why I wish there were more maps. It's weird to me that there's only 8 of them. So I felt like for me, I've played probably about 6 hours in the game, and I feel like, already it's gotten to the point it started to repeat itself in terms of the objectives. But the thing is this, though, is so you have this really cool aquarium map where it's like, being at the Monterey Bay Aquarium in terms of the size of the fish around you. First thing my wife said, first thing I says, can you shoot the aquarium? And it seems to me you can't do that. Why would you include this and not have it so you could even shoot a hole in it and the water starts rising in the level and it gets flooded while you play? I mean, I know that might seem like a little bit of a nitpick and a gripe, but, if you really want to make this incredibly interactive environment, why would you sort of bait the gamer with this awesome eye candy thinking, because for me, that would make it probably my favorite map of all time.
If you had more deformable terrain, if you were able to affect the environment and flood, or even if there's just fire and there's a blast of water that even if you broke a window and it blasted the guy to the side and then it just made a new window and reset the trap for someone, that would be enough to get you excited.
Yeah. I mean, just the fact that they have this. I mean, or imagine how cool it would be if you could shoot at that and then the water level would rise slowly. So you'd be moving around, just sort of, having that.
It's draining out somewhere, but it's not draining fast enough. So you got to slog through water. Maybe it slows you down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like there's a lot of missed opportunities. But the number one thing that just bugged me more than anything is on the console version, and I don't know if it's the same way on the PC, they give you an opportunity to watch a tutorial at the beginning, and they say, hey, you're going to get 1,000 experience points for watching this tutorial. And I have sat through timeshare presentations that were faster paced and more interesting than this. It's a 20-minute tutorial.
Yes, but was the luggage you got from the timeshare presentation as valuable as those 1,000 experience points?
And when I started playing the game,
the inverse though is I saw that because I was live streaming my first playthrough of it, And so I brought it up, but unfortunately the video settings were wrong, so it was going full screen. So all I was trying to do was get out of this. I'm like, let me get out so that I could do it so they could say it. So when that popped up, I'm like, no, I'm not going to do a tutorial. I'm trying to restart this whole thing. And so then I set it up in a window, and I was able to capture it and live stream it. And I was like, okay, now I'm starting for reals. So I created a character. I'm like, wait, where's the tutorial? So I missed the tutorial. So there's important elements.
What is the point of making you sit through a tutorial to get experience points?
And I don't remember any of it by the time. 20 minutes, man, you're not going to get retention because they were walking through every single little thing in the game. And at that point, I was like, and I kept having this thought because I didn't know it was 20 minutes. I was like, do I skip out of it now? No, it's going to to be over in a minute.
It's got to be over soon. They can't make me sit here for 20 minutes.
Meanwhile, like my Xbox went into screensaver mode twice while I was sitting through it, and I was just like, "Oh man, it's just," and it's little things like that. It feels like, and don't get me wrong, I mean, Splash Damage, who did Enemy Territory, Quake Wars. I mean, I get the company that did it. I wanted to love this game based on everything that I'd seen and read about it, but it seems like it was just full of just little polished things that they could have done to make it just a little slicker, a little better, and it had more maps. I would give it a definite recommend. But that's the thing, if you really like class-based first-person shooters, I mean, I think you're going to get more replay value out of like Team Fortress 2.
Well, certainly, and if you're, if that's your criteria is, if you want replay value, you're never going to beat the value of Team Fortress 2. It is the single greatest value in all of gaming history that I've ever enjoyed. But I'm somebody who's played a crap ton of Team Fortress 2, and to me, the idea of a more visceral, real environment with tougher-looking characters and a story that I could get passionate about, I've really, enjoyed.
Yeah.
Did I just freeze up?
Yeah.
And that's why you should buy a timeshare.
I'll take the luggage. Okay, so you know what? While we've been doing this talking, I've been realizing I think a lot of the games we're going to want to talk about are going to be multi-platform.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I think after our boss level roundtable, we just go into the games section and we start with multi-platform games. And if there is something that's only out for console or only out for PC, then we can have sections for that as well.
And I think now, Glenn, real quick, if we're going to describe different platforms as languages, I would personally describe myself as native to PC, but I also speak fluent Xbox, Nintendo, Wii, DS, and iPad.
But we originally had it like, we're going to talk about games, we'll talk about console games, then we'll talk about PC games. And it turns out, well, L.A. Noire and Brink, I mean,
they're going to be both.
We could throw them in console like I did.
Actually, L.A. Noire not coming out on PC, not announced yet.
So L.A. Noire should be console, but Brink should be in.
But even then, I could be excited.
And Portal 2, same thing.
Because eventually, a lot of those do come to PC.
Right. Well, I'm just thinking of if we're gonna have segment titles where it's like time for the console games. Well, Brink isn't just a console game.
Yeah.
Brian was playing it on PC. So
does it matter if you only played the console game, or I mean, when you're talking about it?
No, I don't think so. I think when we're categorizing them, we're saying these are the games you can play on this platform.
Okay.
And so multi-platform for stuff you can play on both, console for the things you can only play on console, and then PC for the things you can only play on PC.
And in fact, I'm sorry, Brian.
I was going to say we can separate it into there's a big difference between your AAA titles versus your indie titles versus your mobile gaming micro titles.
And to borrow sort of the setup from Framerate, but I mean it would almost be like this week's big game and then another big game,
right?
Yet another, because there are. I think that's what's most interesting.
Yeah, it may. So we may not even want to platform it at all.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, that's good. That's a good thought. But the other game we were going to talk about was Portal 2.
Which is
because as we mentioned last week, I had finished Portal 2, but then I started playing Portal 2 co-op last week.
Which I did as well.
Just as awesome. It's actually maybe better.
Different, but equally satisfying.
And I think that's why it's better for me is because running through Portal 2, I felt like this was really good.
Yeah.
It was not so much different or better, but I wasn't disappointed like I'm just playing the same game over again as Portal. I'm playing a better game.
Totally different
but it's
game
not,
with co-op.
It's not, I don't have that same, like, I've never played anything like this before, obviously. But Portal 2 co-op, I'm like, oh yeah, this is fun. This is different. This is adding a little jazz that I didn't get in Portal.
And I think it really deserves its full, props and respect in the sense that, I mean, it's not just an additional mode.
Right.
And I think a lot of people maybe haven't checked it out yet. I mean, because we all got to checking around. I think finally, Brian, you as well this last weekend, right?
Yeah. In fact, I just finished it with my brother. And in fact, we live streamed, and I was shocked by this. When I set it up, we live streamed our playthrough. Me and my brother. It took us about 9 hours. I think it was 2 or 3 nights at 3 hours a night or so. And we just set up the two of us in this little corner. You could see us. And people were sending me emails saying they enjoyed watching us play Portal 2. I was like, who enjoys watching other people play a video game? But I loaded it up and like watching the two of us argue and be like, you're like, no, set it up. I told you to do the blue one. You got to do the blue.
Well, and that's the key. There. That's the key to our LAN party. After we get through this discussion and news and stuff, we're gonna play, and that's the awesome sauce we want to capture right there.
And I think there'll be some experience like that. I think there'll be a mix of live streaming games, having competition that involves the listeners, and there were lots of good ideas last week about that in terms of maybe looking at something like on live as a solution. So it's truly. People can get the OnLive console. People can play it on a PC. People can play it on a Mac.
Right.
We can go in and do play-by-play commentary on it. But to get back to the Portal 2 co-op element, I think that my recommendation would be, because we all played it with somebody that we know and have a pre-existing relationship with, and I think that is the way to do it. I played it with my younger brother, and it was oh, sorry man, killed you, just all the different.
Oh yeah, because you do that, right? You do that to each other, where you like open a portal under somebody and they fall to their death, and you're like, I misplaced that one.
Yeah. Oh, but some of the stuff they added, like being able to do that endless fall with your partner and then transition that. It was just so satisfying. Yeah. And light spoiler alert here, but
yellow.
I have to say that the puzzle that involved the timing of the flying into each other,
I think it's one of the Sky 5. You have to do the ultimate Sky 5 in order to complete the thing.
But having to when you're on the bridge and you have to hit each other midair to solve it, I thought that was one of the most satisfying co-op moments I've ever had in a video game.
Right, because it's not something you can just like, I'll take care of this one. You can't just like carry a partner. It's like you both have to contribute.
Yeah, and it's just so much fun. And I think that, even if you already are feeling a little Portal 2'd out, if you played the single player, I think that, and I gotta say for the sale that they had, like a week ago, because I originally bought it for the PlayStation 3, which was, in hindsight, a huge mistake. Given
I bought it for the PlayStation 3 in order to get the free Steam one, and I just barely, without even knowing it, I decided that morning, no, I'm going to go ahead and activate it now before I go into work, because I want to be able to go right to playing when I get home. And wow, I'm glad I did, because I'd be still waiting.
And that's what the situation I was in. I bought it when it was on sale when Amazon price matched Kmart for that day for $35. And I got to say, I'm into Portal 2 now for $95 cumulatively between the two copies, and totally worth it.
I was going to say, I bet it totally, even at $95, was worth the investment.
And and I think everyone has been saying so far, best game of this year. I think that goes without saying. Granted, there haven't been a lot of other, not so much competition so far, but just in terms of satisfaction, it just is phenomenal.
Do we want to do a retro game every week? A retro segment? What kind of retro segment would we do?
You know what? What if we did that as a homework segment? Like
everybody play this game.
Yeah, exactly. Each week we pick a new one.
Class.
And we talk about it, and we're like, we come back each week. We're like, oh well, we all played it. And we're like, you know what? It brought back awesome memories. Another person's just like, you know what? That's why I hate platformers.
I am definitely down as far as as much retro as we want to put in there. Just so everybody knows a little bit about my bio. I started professionally covering video games at the age of 14, so in 1990. And, I feel like there's so much in terms of not only what I played, but I find interesting, and if the listeners find it interesting also, the history behind, some of these games that came out, sort of whether it was the good decisions, the bad decisions, the overlooked games, the great games that were on platforms where they didn't get perhaps as much play as they should have.
That seems like that could be a somebody's corner thing.
Yeah.
That seems like that should be.
Old man Rubenstein talks about.
Bill Meeks is putting together a show called This Old Web, and where it's like you share the.
Hey, you're stealing Iyaz's This Old Nerd.
I stole from This Old House.
Oh, I guess that's true.
But sorry, you were saying
Old Wide Web. That's what he says. He said Old Wide Web is what it's called.
That's better. That's better.
Yeah.
And no, I think having a game. And that's you get into the legality of stuff with ROMs and whatnot. But I think people.
The stories behind the games would be interesting. Would you also cover like consoles? Like what happened with the Dreamcast and that kind of stuff?
See, I love that idea personally. For a while, I was telling Tom I want to do a separate show that's just on retro technology, and in each episode talking about Sega is a hardware manufacturer. What happened, man? You know,
how is Sonic on Nintendo? How does that even work?
Get some people. You know, I mean, talk about the 3D.
Or like, for example, even the story of the legality of how Tetris came to be.
Oh,
like, I watched a whole half-hour special on that. It was fascinating the way this guy working under the communist regime created this little gem that went on and took the whole world by storm, and he got not a dollar of it.
Yeah, no, and I had some insight in that. I used to do some consulting with Spectrum Holobyte back in the day, so I remember Alexei. What was his last name? The guy that did Tetris, but they hired him to do
Alexei Medeev.
No,
he later
like Patronov. I want to say.
Looking it up.
Okay. But I mean, it was just fascinating, like, because they, Paginov, they contracted him to do a bunch more puzzle games, and just a really interesting guy. I got to meet him a few times. And also, I was going to say, just if people are interested in the Tetris story, just a quick transition. If nobody has read it yet, I know it's been a couple years since it's been talked about, but if you're looking for a really interesting read, something you find in paperback for very cheap, get a copy of the book Game Over about Nintendo. It was written in the mid-'90s. I think it was David Sheff wrote it, and it's really fascinating to look into both Nintendo's history of how they sort of cracked the U.S. market, but also some great stuff in there about the history of Tetris and all the rights disputes that went on between Tengen, Spectrum Holobyte, and Nintendo.
I think Glenn grabs a monocle and a pipe, and we just go for our gaming history moments.
Yeah.
You know,
we've got the red curtain back there. It's like Masterpiece Theater.
Put the red curtain behind him.
Well, and I think that's the thing. I mean, you know, time permitting, I mean, there's so many people that I would love to have on as guests that just have been involved in video game history.
Just bring them on and like, what the hell happened?
Oh, like, or even, you know who I was reading about the other night? Like Thor Ackerland, who was the Nintendo World Champion in like the early 90s. Nintendo had a contest where it toured cities. I remember going to the one at the Oakland Coliseum. And this kid, Thor Ackerland, won. And then what was funny was Camerica, which was a renegade Nintendo publisher. They published unlicensed games. They hired the Nintendo World Champion as their spokesman. You know, and he did the series of ads for them, and then the kid sort of faded out of the limelight for probably about 15 years. But then just recently, he started blogging again. I think it would just make a fascinating guest just to sort of talk about that moment in time. You know,
or we could just steal posts from RetroGamesForever.com.
We could do that
and be like, today we're talking about Vector Man and Donkey Kong Country. No reason, didn't totally steal it from Joshua Caleb or anything. Just saying.
So, Randy Nicole 2012 or 2002 asks if we're going to have a cheat segment. I think we could all agree that no, we're not, because that's like
we talked about that. Yeah, we talked about that last week.
Look, and we're going to get that from GameFAQs.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can go to GameFAQs. That's cut out the middleman.
All right.
Yeah, it's just this is a very inefficient medium to get that kind of information out. The odds are whatever cheats we give you will be for a game that you don't have or don't care about or probably don't even want the cheat for. And if you do want the cheat, you already got it from GameFAQs, like they were saying.
This week's cheat for Metroid is enter the name Justin Bailey as a password. Yeah. You'll get to start as Samus Aris without her costume on.
Woo!
Spoiler alert, she's a girl.
What? You ruined it. Okay, so then I had our face-off segment, also known as Wild Card. Was Wild Card just meant like we'd come up with different segments, or was Wild Card referring to the topics that the face-off would be about?
It means we physically get wild and assault each other with playing cards.
Gambit style.
Okay, give me a bicycle deck. Let's go.
Give me a retro Nintendo deck.
I like the face-off idea that we talked about last week, though. Just having a kind of a head-to-head.
Yeah. Sort of comparing just two games head-to-head or advocating.
Yeah, or even issues or platforms or
No, I like the debate element.
What is the best video game weapon? Go. It's the crowbar.
Or like
it's the chicken.
Console or PC, because there are so many games that are multi-platform right now, and it's like I'm passionate about the WASD and the mouse. It's like once you go WASD, you never go BASD.
Wouldn't that go on forever?
That's what they says.
If you're gonna do console versus PC, that would.
We'd have to have rounds.
You're gonna need a timer.
Yeah.
It would have to be just the control aspect, and it's that would be fun if like you had a timer and you got 30 seconds to say your piece, and then 30 seconds to kick the other guys, and then we ask the audience who won. That would be kind of fun.
We need some kind of instant poll.
Point counterpoint.
Yeah, I like the instant poll idea. Some people had suggested that from emails.
That could settle all of that stuff very fast.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Then we'll do an ad because sponsors. Totally.
It's brought to you by GameFly.
And then we would have an interview. Hopefully. Whether it be, developer or some name person. Could be something we even roll in if we,
Can I make what might sound like a bizarre suggestion?
Sure.
For the view, especially with developers.
Does it involve penguins?
And meat space?
No, but
okay.
I think that those interviews should actually be pre-recorded, just because the type of things that make many game developers awesome are not usually the same type of things that make for an awesome, entertaining interview.
That was a very polite way of saying that devs may be a little bit dull.
Yes. I'm just saying.
But very diplomatic.
Yeah. No, I think
that's a good idea.
I think most of the time we're going to have to anyway. There might be occasionally where we get some good interview that we'll want to do live as part of the show, but I think, I don't know, Glenn, what do you think?
I think
is it a pre-pro thing?
It depends on the person.
It's easier to get them.
Well, and we talked
'cause you can
before
work around
about,
their schedule.
even joking, like, Miyamoto, you're in the hot seat. Like,
yeah,
that live might not be the most riveting interview.
It'll work better edited.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
It's putting it mildly.
Well, and I think it opens up a slot also where if we want to bring in a pundit, someone that's an interesting guest. I think that's really the key. And I mean, I hope everyone's getting sort of a sampling of that as we talk about it here. What we really want are people that have the background, have the knowledge, and have some opinions and information, really to keep it lively. And, just what I want to do is I want to be able to cram this show full of as much interesting information as possible.
A lot of folks in the chat room keep bringing up tabletop gaming because they're big tabletop game fans. We are not going to cover tabletop gaming in this show.
Nor are we going to cover Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, I mean, that is a different element.
With the exception of Magic the Gathering on Xbox 360, which is awesome. But
that's not tabletop gaming. That's a console game.
And Settlers of Catan on Xbox, which is also awesome, and Ticket to Ride on Xbox, which is awesome.
But those are all console games. They may be. That's like saying, we will cover Monopoly on the Wii.
But what I'm saying is that much as many games are multi-platform, so can tabletop games be multi-platform.
So that'll be
I'm saying if it shows up.
Yeah, I was going to say for April Fools, I want a cheat section on Monopoly where we explain that if you're the banker, you'll always win.
It's all in 3D, high def. It's unbelievable.
And for the live play that we could say the LAN party, we will sit around and play Dungeons and Dragons on graph paper with multi-sided die.
Awesome.
So anyway, it's not that we don't love tabletop gaming or believe it's important. I just think that it's not central to a show about video games. Because we could have a show about games and it could be vast.
Shuffleboard.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a game.
It's like, I don't know. You got to draw
shuffleboard on the Wii.
Got to draw a line somewhere, and I'm being the jerk that's drawing the line, so you can blame me.
I would cover, I actually had a great time around the holidays. That's when the Wii always comes out at my house, aside from the big releases. But we were playing Boggle on the Wii. Surprisingly fun.
Oh, Buana likes the
general, surprisingly fun. Yeah. Would not have thought Boggle's as fun as it is.
No LARP coverage either, Beef. That is outside the purview.
I guess you'd be LARPing during the show.
Well, exactly. Unless it's involved somehow with the video game.
That'll be during the off when things get ugly. Finally, you just end by going lightning ball, trying to kill them through the screen.
So we'd go out of our interview into our user generated stuff. We talked last week of user reviews and then of the week segments, like the kill of the week, the glitch of the week, the fail of the week. Nobody sent us anything yet, did they?
I don't think so. Somebody sent in an old video that they'd had queued up, but I wasn't able to check it out.
There's no shortage on YouTube of amazing, like some of those Modern Warfare knife kills where they just throw a random hatchet in the air and then halfway across the map kill someone.
But if people want to, I'll put it out there now for when we come back in 2 weeks. If people want to send in any particularly memorable kill shots, fails, whatnot, send that to twitgameshow@gmail.com.
And your user reviews, we're going to put a cap. I say 20 seconds.
Ooh, really?
20 seconds.
I'd say 30 if it's really good.
I think I'm 20, saying, so it comes out.
Exactly. No, Iyaz knows where I'm going. You say 20 seconds, and then maybe you'll keep it to 30.
If you say 30, you get a minute and a half.
And then, any of the weeks that you capture, if you're capturing stuff and you're like, oh my God, that was an amazing kill or a weird glitch or a total epic fail or anything else, any other ideas where you're like, actually, I think this would make a good segment, just do the video and send it to us.
Yeah, and I think that, really interaction is something we're going to want to have as much of as you guys want to interact with this show. So, totally. I mean, I encourage people fully to to, if you shoot something that's interesting, chances are pretty good, especially in this early going stage, get in on the ground floor of providing us with interesting content.
The bad Pat Ryan says, funny thing my dog did of the week. As I said, send us anything you want. That doesn't guarantee we'll like it and play it.
If the dog's playing the game.
But maybe.
But I like the open-ended nature of it, to where I think we'll get increasingly creative categories.
Yes.
Like I can see early on, first it's kill of the week, then next week's is like best spray in Counter-Strike of the week. And then it's just a screen grab of that. And then eventually it's like best photo of my poodle playing Team Fortress 2 on the, or whatever. It's like, I like how open-ended that is.
Best meat space interaction of the week.
Would you have a tournament at the end for what's the best of the week for the month? Put them all up against each other?
Oh, we could do an of the month at the end of the month of our best of the week.
And then or have the four people like play in a game.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I love
they could all be invited into the LAN party.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a great idea. And
Victor Reznov sent his quadruple kill. You're actually supposed to email it to twitgameshow@gmail.com, but
I'm actually previewing it right now.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at it too. Let's just see how good it is.
It's a Rickroll. No.
Did you find it, Alex?
I got it right here. Here we go.
I got it right here. All right.
It's 30 seconds too, so it's a quadruple kill. Wow. That's kind of awesome.
Securing Bravo. Dogs waiting for your mark. Losing B.
Not bad.
Not bad.
That's captioning on the
That's
video.
the idea. I like the captioning.
I don't know why I turned around, but I'm glad I did. I like that.
Yeah. Oh, someone else in the chat room posted the Portal Insane Cube tricks in Portal 2. Have you guys seen some of those?
No.
I mean, people just playing it through. I mean, like at a speed that I cannot even imagine.
Oh, my God.
In terms of dropping, catching, and just, it's crazy. Some people are emailing me asking because they want to know in terms of frequency and whatnot. I guess we haven't covered that fully. So this is going to be a weekly show.
Yeah.
Ideally, it will be in this time slot on Fridays.
Yeah. We may launch it after
Sunday.
TWiT.
Yeah.
When we first put on the first couple episodes, but yeah, I think we're targeting this time.
And we're going to be leading up, obviously with doing not next week, but we're going to be back in 2 weeks on Friday. We'll keep doing these beta shows, these brainstorm shows. We're going to be covering E3 and then really doing a full launch once we're in the new studio.
Yep.
Over the summer.
On Twitter, a question: how long is this new show going to be? Seems like you have 20 segments.
But they're all going to be awesome.
Whatever.
It's about replayability. You can watch
this is brainstorming. There are no bad ideas in brainstorming.
And the idea is going to be that we're going to do around an hour for the general podcast, and then there's going to be this after show, which we may release as a separate podcast, maybe not. Maybe that'll be a live incentive where there are going to be these LAN parties, this play-by-play, this highly interactive element where we're going to be hosting these games where you all can partake, either playing against us or Tom and myself doing color commentary and play-by-play.
Yes.
And sometimes it'll be.
Would you look at that, Glenn? Another kill for Brushwood.
You know what? We should actually. There's a whole movement happening thanks to StarCraft, because we have it's, as you guys know, in Korea, StarCraft 1 was this essentially a national sport. But here in America, with the launch of StarCraft 2, we're seeing some high energy, really good commentary, giving a context for it's like, now you notice what happened here. That didn't look like a big move, but it completely destabilizes his left front here, and that's what makes it possible to come in over here. Like there really is a cyber sports emerging movement on YouTube right now with replays and commentary.
Yes.
Totally.
It's called dropping the ball right there.
This won't happen on a real show.
This is the problem.
I was reading Twitter.
Yeah,
I admit
when we're monitoring the chat room, Twitter, and email, if people feel like there's any downtime, that's wise, because we're paying attention to what you all are saying in terms of
I think
your
the
ideas.
show should have an awkward silence of the week. I like that.
There it was, our first.
That would have been it.
Our first segment, awkward silence of the week.
But as we mentioned last week, some weeks the multiplayer might even just be Dance Dance Revolution or Rock Band, just things to sort of change it up. I think we really just want to keep it interesting. And obviously, if some stuff proves wildly popular, we'll keep bringing it back and run it into the ground.
Totally. But yeah, I mean, I could see us, back to Brian's pre-awkward pause moment. I could see us, kind of organically starting some sort of league or tournament or some sort of, partnership with Pro Gaming or Blizzard on StarCraft or something like that. Those are totally possible. Let's move to our feedback section.
Yes.
After our user submitted section, where we'll just, this is your classic. Let's read some emails to twitgameshow@gmail.com.
Let's see. Oh, here we go. Big Dan from the chat.
Big Dan.
He suggested that each game or genre type have a game benchmark to be compared against. For example, let's say the best RTS game is StarCraft 2, and you want to review the new Dawn of War 2 game. You would award it a +1, 0, or -1 based on a handful of categories, looking at how it compares against the benchmark game. Some other people had suggested something similar, sort of how Top Gear does it, in terms of having the big board. Like here's the measuring stick.
You know what I think would be fun is to describe how we feel about games in terms of other games, but using two different criteria. Like, it's more addictive than Tetris, but less colorful than Super Mario World.
Now it's starting to feel like Hollywood pitches.
Well, though, when I worked at GameSpot back in the day, and when I worked at CNET Game Center, I would deal with reviewers all the time that would give games a 9 or sometimes a 10. And I would have to say to them, when your mind, what is a 10 game? So if Command and Conquer, the original, is a 10, you think this game is better than Command and Conquer. Sometimes it's good to sort of a reality check, I find, when trying, because you know how it is when you get a new game that you love, there is sort of that little bit of hype that does sort of, I think, artificially inflates the enthusiasm 15 to 20%.
So we're not talking about ratings like, it's Toy Bazaar meets Pitfall Harry and Azeroth.
No, more like how does it compare to this? Because I think that hyperbole is something that is a little too easy to run away with at times.
Yeah.
And it might be a good sort of reality check.
Well, and that's the nice thing is we're not going to do a review system. We're not going to do a 10-point scale where we end up just giving everything 9s because that's what happens.
And if thumbs up, thumbs down weren't trademarked, but I think that's the thing. It's really, and I think people use it
trademarked by Romans.
Well, I think Ebert has the trademark officially on the thumb system. But the idea of
pinkies.
Yeah, but the idea of buy it, rent it, or skip it, which people have used, kind of widely, I think, but I think that really applies to it in the sense that we're not looking to do the most in-depth, complete review of a game ever. There are sites and resources out there where where you can find that information. What we really want to steer people towards is what we think is good, what we think doesn't live up to the hype, and what we think is just completely not worth your time.
Wouldn't thumbs down be opposite because you want to be on the controller?
Yeah.
Thumbs up means you don't like the game. I'm not playing this, and thumbs up.
Replay, sell, or scratch.
That's good. I like that.
Scratch.
It's so bad, I wouldn't even sell it back.
Yeah.
All right. Any more emails we want to read?
Let's see. Fill some time while I...
Anything in the spam filter? I'd love to hear some of that.
Oh, actually, no, I did not check the spam filter.
It's got a great Cipro
And if we don't
offer.
get to your email today, in 2 weeks when we're back, keep those emails coming to twitgameshow@gmail.com.
And we'll ignore it then, too.
Or you can tweet at me. I'm on Twitter as Glenn Rubenstein. I think we'll flash that up there.
You know what? Actually, if we're killing time, I actually do have a silly thing to plug. I know you guys are probably almost as excited about Star Wars: The Old Republic as I am. ?
Slightly less, but
slightly less. Really?
I just, I mean, Brian, we're roughly the same age. I was born in 76. You were born in 75. But here's the thing, man. My younger brother used to work at LucasArts, so I felt like, I've been inundated with Star Wars probably more than anyone should have to be for probably the better part of the last 10 years. So,
well, see, and the flip side is I had a very deep, passionate love of Star Wars and just bit by bit saw it chipped away by decisions that I didn't agree with the way George Lucas took the franchise. And then I experienced, at some point I'm like, crap, I guess I don't like Star Wars anymore because this is so stupid what they're doing with it. And then Knights of the Old Republic came out, and I found this deep, abiding love for what BioWare was doing because I loved the expanded universe stuff. I loved everything BioWare did it. To me, this is my big hope that I can re-experience the childlike joy that I had for the Star Wars universe.
How did you not say A New Hope?
Is it on Sony Online Entertainment?
Yes, it is.
Oh, well, you can forget about that.
Right. Well, what I did want to plug is that we actually have some guilds. Let me see if I can actually get my I got to get logged in. But we've got 2 guilds already. One is called Not Safe for Wookiees. That's the Sith one. NSFW there.
Yeah, love that.
The other one's called Diamond Club on the Republic side.
Nice. Another NSFW reference, of course.
Yeah, definitely hit us up. You could form an account at swtor.com right now, and then pick either side. I know that I'm guild manager for NSFW for Not Safe for Wookiees, and Adam 12 is going to be managing the Diamond Club. But we'll have everyone doing on both.
Sweet.
To get to one other email I have
Play
here
Sith or
from,
go home.
Michael McElwain sent in asking, he sent some name suggestions, but he also asked if we're going to cover some stand-up arcade games, and I think that, that's something that I think is within the realm, if it warrants.
Well, that would go in that retro section.
Or even new ones. There aren't as many new ones that are released.
Oh, that's true.
But if there's a big one.
We could throw in a big big new stand-up arcade game every once in a while.
He also just something that would be interesting in taking an old video game system and having a viewer or maybe someone who wasn't as familiar with it, maybe even a younger gamer, sort of play.
Oh. Okay, I've seen that on YouTube. Some kids trying to play.
Well, there's that series,
Game Boy or something,
and sort of get the feedback of someone who's not as familiar with it to sort of
use your hands?
Get some fresh eyes. Yeah, exactly.
Like a baby's toy.
Let's go to senior citizen homes and
just go and bother old people. This is your plan.
Yeah.
Why is it bother? Why do you immediately leap to thinking it's bothering them?
That opens up the idea of doing some pre-tape segments.
Why do you assume they're bored?
I think for a pre-tape segment, and I'm totally open to doing pre-tape segments as part of my production duties on the show.
Awesome.
Pre-tape stuff like that, totally possible, including going out, to where there are actual arcades or going out in the field and talking to people. If we had a little more, if we were closer to E3, that would be something that we would probably go out and do some video package stuff. But I could definitely see in the future stuff like PAX or other cons getting some stuff for segments. So having more pre-tape stuff like that, totally possible.
How are you feeling? We've only got a few minutes before we have to hand this over to All About Android because they're gonna tape their show a little earlier.
Yeah.
But At the Controls, All About Gaming, Falcon Punch. What?
Game Storm, somebody said by accident.
Game Storm, I know.
Yeah, I'd say that, but I checked. Okay, here's the thing. I've been looking
Game
at
Storm
names.
is taken.
As
This
a
is the problem.
It
This
has
is
to
part
be
of the
taken.
thing. Don't get me wrong. With At the Controls, I'm not super stoked. I've never been super stoked on that name, but I've always used it just because it was available, and as such, I own the .com. I have the a Twitter variant. I have the YouTube. If anyone has ideas for names that we can get, that's my preference. Brian, I know.
I'll tell you what and for some reason I just picture in my mind when I picture what the show should be called. I picture generals up in a tower looking down at a game board, and it's like I think of
tabletop.
What? No. But
it's a surface table. There you go.
I'm talking about future generals with computers. All right. But the point is like some kind of overhead perspective. Some kind of
like top down.
Yeah, or
that's a different show entirely. Top down.
And let me just talk about unique names for a second, Brian. When I've gone to look at some stuff you've talked about on NSFW before, and I've gone to the site, I've ended up on probably not the site you intended me to end up on.
I know. Look, I'm not the person to pick names. Apparently,
yeah.
You decide to name your show after a code for hardcore pornography. I send all ability to name shows, but it just does. It seems like it should be something that connotes tactics and overhead view.
I'm totally with that. I'm trying to think, and people keep sending in stuff. We got someone sent in, Michael sent in Total Control, TWiT Power Play, Powering Up, saying that at the end, then we say, and now we're powering down. People have talked about load screen. all sorts of different
buffering.
Yeah, exactly. And the problem is that I keep running into is that every time I do the search on the big three, which would be the .com, the YouTube, and the Twitter, the majority of this stuff is taken or something. Even This Week in Gaming, which, I think is the most natural fit for the TWiT network, but even that has been used before.
We got a twig already, too.
Yeah, exactly.
This Week in Google.
What about just something like You Lose? Continue?
That sounds like a segment.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. The one thing I would say in defense of At the Controls is every video game has controls. It is universal to gaming.
That is true.
And it's much like, and I'll be honest that when I first came up with the title, it was totally a take on At the Movies.
Yeah. I kind of like it the more I think about it, but we'll keep kicking it around. We're going to do another one of these in 2 weeks, ladies and gentlemen.
Mark your calendars.
Mark your calendars for May. Well, actually, wait a minute. I won't be here in 2 weeks.
You won't be here in 2 weeks?
No, I won't. You can do one without me.
I guess we could.
Yeah. There's no reason you can't.
Well, do we want to do one next Friday then, Brian?
I'm available next Friday. I think the Friday after that it gets a little more complicated for me. Let me.
Yeah, the next Friday I'll be around is June 3rd.
Okay. Well, then the next next Friday I am available, Glenn. If you want to do it.
So
then.
next Friday. So what's a week from today?
And in fact, actually, 20th. It looks like I do get back from Las Vegas on the 26th. So I'm available both of the next.
Let's do it next Friday then to keep the stream going. So Friday the 20th, and we could talk about LA Noire and Iyaz. Can you?
What do you need me to do?
Hang out.
You can pretend
I can
to
totally
be Tom.
do that. I can
you can pretend to be Tom and keep us on schedule, actually.
Buddy.
Because I think Brian and I will just.
You guys can talk about games. I'm like, next segment.
No, seriously.
No,
but
seriously,
that is good. That was good.
That was good. That was a good invitation.
Yeah.
I felt like I was looking in a mirror.
So that's good because next week we could talk about LA Noire, talk about stuff more leading up to E3. I mean, there's plenty of stuff to talk about. This is actually a great time in terms of things that just that are happening with gaming. And who knows? Maybe PSN will be back up.
Yeah. You know, we said that last time.
That's the bet. What will launch first?
You know what? That'll be our final segment. Was PSN next week?
Yeah.
And then that's how we end each show.